Welcome to episode number 285, where I'm speaking with returning guest, Dr. Sujatha Kekada, and we're discussing herpes and shingles. We talk about how they are related. We talk about eliminating the taboo or shame around genital herpes. We talk about the sampropti or the progression of these conditions, as well as how Ayurveda treats these conditions. So please stay tuned. Hi there, I'm your host Colette, and on this podcast I will be sharing the teachings of Ayurveda, yoga, and holistic health practices. Now, if you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend checking out the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. Thanks for listening, and now here's a new episode. This episode is sponsored by Mount Madonna Institute, and throughout this episode today, you'll be hearing a testimonial recording from a recent graduate.
Namaste. My name is Anna, and I live in the Chicago area. First learned about Ayurveda in my YTT 200 training, and that's when my love of Ayurveda began. I wanted to dive deeper into classical Ayurveda, and I soon discovered Mount Madonna.
Since 1978, Mount Madonna Institute has offered yoga teacher trainings. The College of Ayurveda launched in 2006 with a mission to educate and train future health professionals and empower them to use Ayurveda to transform individual health and community well-being. Mount Madonna specializes in integrating classical knowledge of Ayurveda and modern knowledge of allopathic Western medicine. To learn more about these programs, visit mountmadonnainstitute.org and receive a $200 discount on 3 programs starting in September 2023 by using the code ELEMENTS at checkout. You can find all those details in the show notes. Hello and welcome back to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. I'm very happy to welcome back Dr. Sujatha Kekada, who is the head physician and co-founder of AmrtaSiddhi Ayurvedic Clinic in Ubud, Bali. She is a certified Ayurvedic doctor with a degree from Rajiv Gandhi University in Karnataka, India. Dr. Sujatha's profound understanding of Ayurvedic medicine and her deep love for plants is the basis for her exceptional ability to diagnose the root causes of diseases and to find effective remedies. Dr. Sujatha, welcome back to the podcast. Always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Colette. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to chat with you and to have this opportunity for you to share your wisdom, because you have so much wisdom on diseases, and this is why I love to do deep dives into diseases with you. And today we're going to discuss 2 very painful conditions, shingles and herpes, which are both considered to be the herpes virus, right?
Yes, you're correct.
Okay.
Both comes from virus, different kinds of species of virus. We can talk more about it.
Yeah, definitely. And so I'd love to begin just by defining these conditions, please, Dr. Sujatha, and just in general what they are first before we kind of do a deeper dive.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Herpes, shingles, they both come from virus, different kinds of virus. Symptoms appear as redness, blisters, pain, burning sensation, all those things. There is difference between herpes and shingles is herpes caused by HSV virus, herpes simplex virus. And within the HSV virus or the herpes simplex virus, there is 2, herpes simplex virus 1 and herpes simplex virus 2. So the common what we call cold sores, which happens around our lip, with a little blister, which is a little bit of tender, all those things. So this is caused by the herpes virus 1. And the one that happens in the area of genitals, buttocks, vulval area, thighs, this is from herpes virus 2. Sometimes the herpes 1, virus 1 also can create these kind of blisters, painful eruptions in the buttocks, genital area, and thigh area too. So they can happen, but most likely what we call cold sores around lip comes from a species of herpes virus 1, and what happens in the genitals, buttocks comes from the herpes virus 2. And the shingles, which is comes from another virus species called varicella zoster virus. So another difference is the simple virus herpes, which can come for any age group, but shingles are most common elderly people, in elderly age group people. So these are the basic simple understanding and differentiation of herpes and shingles.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for clarifying that. And so they each have a similar manifestation in that, are they all small fluid-filled blisters?
No, the shingles are a little bit more, comes in a band. They come in one side of the body, and they have a much larger area that it covers. Basically, follows the branch of a nerve that runs through a part of the body, that you can have one of the arms or a chest region or your torso. So it comes in a band, the shingles, and it's much more painful. It takes longer to cure. It takes around 3 to 5 weeks for it to naturally subside. We just need to boost up your immune system. We can talk more about what we can do. But what we call the simple herpes, the type 1 or the type 2, they come in a smaller area, just a little blister. They're not that painful as the shingles.
Okay. And then the shingles, you said, is more frequent in older populations. Is that to do with in the Vata stage of life? Because it's on the nervous.
I think there is one part of that. And also, if we look into the causative factor for herpes, what it does, it's a condition and it's an accumulative stage. Yes, there is involvement big time, like a pitta gets accumulated. And then anything stressful, traumatic, sudden insidious things happens, and then it affects the nervous system, because herpes zoster lives, the herpes the shingle virus lives in the body latent, and then it just can flare up, particularly around the area of where your nerve fibers run. And also the shingles, it's not like people can get that often. So it's maybe once in a lifetime or maybe twice. But the other herpes, what we call it, a person can get that more frequently.
Okay. And one thing I'd like to discuss off the bat is the whole taboo or the shame around genital herpes. We can see that these are all a similar virus manifesting in a different way. Can we talk about that at the outset here? Because I think it's terrible, the shame that is put around genital herpes when it's just a virus. And you can live with this virus. Absolutely.
Like from a medical point of view, either shingles or the herpes simplex 1 or 2, they're all the same. There's nothing big thing about. So I think because the herpes genitals is considered to be like a sexually transmitted, because of that, I think there is a bit of a taboo about, okay, so there is something unhygienous or a wrong or unethical, or it's because it's contagious, all those things. I don't think it's anything worse than, the hand, mouth, feet disease that kids have. In my opinion, it's nothing worse or nothing tabooous than this condition of that, what as in our early childhood stage, playing in the dirt and playing with the other kids, what we get these blisters. It's nothing worse than having that or the same way of spreading transformation. But since it's happening in the genitals, I don't know, just people connect that to STD, sexually transmitted diseases. And I think also there are many other sexually transmitted diseases. They put that in the same group, having a fear of unworthiness or did something wrong. I don't think any of these is valid reason to people to create a taboo or feel less of themselves if they have these infections, in my opinion.
Great. Thank you for saying that, because there is a lot of, taboo around this. People don't like talking about it and so on. So I'm glad we got that out there at the start of this conversation. And this is why I wanted to have this conversation today, because to shine a light on it and say there's no need to have shame around this. It's something you can live with. But let's explain the condition a little bit more. Now, you said that both the shingles, herpes zoster, and the herpes simplex 1 and 2 are all the same. So can these conditions be correlated with visarpa in Ayurveda? And if so, can you explain visarpa?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have a disease in Ayurvedic pathology understanding called visarpa. There's one kind of visarpa which is mainly generated from the imbalance of both vata and pitta, has got the similar symptomatic characteristic of what we call the herpes or shingles. In that way, we can compare herpes to visarpa. The word meaning visarpa means something can spread very fast in many different directions in the body, which comes with the symptoms of burning sensation, excruciating pain, feeling malaise, tired, exhausted, dizziness. Sometimes it can involve digestive symptoms and all those things. So this is the characteristic of the symptoms, and comes with blisters, redness, burning, all those symptoms. So if you look at the symptoms, what generally visarpa is described, and we can see that symptoms in herpes or shingles. And also it says it spreads. And if you see the shingles, which spreads very fast, red, people can feel nothing on the skin in the beginning stage of the manifestation of this condition. They will feel extremely tired, maybe a little bit of skin sensitivity, irritation, a light burning sensation, boom. And after 3-4 days, then, the blisters can come off as if you got burnt. And it's very painful because these viruses are affecting the nerve branch, which is running on that particular part of your body. So vata pittaja visarpa, we can correlate to herpes.
Okay.
And shingles.
Okay. So visarpa is like the umbrella name for these spreading conditions, these burning, spreading conditions.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and some of the visarpas Ayurveda describes, which is something can happen internally too, not just on the surface of the skin, can happen in the muscles or in the joints, basically having these burning, painful blisters, can come in nodules. So there's many different versions of visarpa, and the closest of the herpes zoster or shingles is vata pitta visarpa.
Vata pitta?
Involved visarpa.
Oh, involved visarpa. Okay.
Yeah.
And is rakta involved as well?
Yes. If you look into, the main dosha, like a general samprapti means the pathogenesis.
Mm-hmm.
If you look into how visarpa manifests, there is a 3 dosha involvement in there. So all the vata, pitta, and kapha involvement is there. Hence, the visarpa types also becomes 3 with vata, pitta, kaphaja, and then external and the abhyantara and bahya, another 3 categories, plus the combination dosha of vata pittaja, vata kaphaja, and pitta kaphaja, like that. So the 3 doshas are involved. So there is a vitiation or disturbance of 3 dosha happens, and then it affects your rakta, blood, also lasika, your lymphatic system, and also your mamsa. So, and skin. So the dhatus are mamsa dhatu, rakta dhatu, and then the lasika, which is an upadhatu, and then the skin, which is also a upadhatu. So these are the 4 areas get involved, or the channels of rakta dhatu srotas or mamsa srotas get affected. So vitiated dosha spreads into these 3 ashrayis, or the shelter or the physical part of the body manifesting the disease. That's why when the blister comes, there's a oozing happening. There we can see the involvement of the lasika or the lymphatic system, the redness, burning. We can see that the blood getting affected. Yes, it happens on the surface of the skin. And then the mamsa dhatu, it can leave a deeper scar, which is affecting your muscle tissues.
Okay, great. I've been doing a deep dive recently into all the srotas of the body and the dhatus, so it's good to bring this into the conversation. So there's Rakta, Pitta, Vata, Kapha. There can be an involvement, plus the lymph, the mamsa tissue, the muscle tissue, and twak, the skin. And how about Maja? Because with shingles, it spreads along the nerve line, right?
Yeah.
Could you say that Maja, the nervous tissue, is involved as well?
Majja dhatu, Ayurveda doesn't see, like when if you're talking about visarpa, there's no involvement of the Majja dhatu.
Okay.
So, because yes, the nervous system is related to the Majja dhatu, because it's not happening in the nervous. It's not a disease related to the nervous system or the nerve.
Right.
So the herpes viruses are around the nervous system. So the pain factor, why herpes or the shingles are painful, because it's happening in the mamsa dhatu, but mamsa dhatus are innervated with the nerves. So it's around it, the inflammation, which triggers the nerve area to get inflamed. So it's not like a disease of the nerve.
I got you. Okay. Sometimes that can be just the pathway of the disease.
Yes.
Along the nerve line. Okay.
Yeah. But the doshas vitiated doesn't affect the nerve itself, but it's in the muscles. And we know that the nerves run through the muscles.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Okay. Great. Thanks for clarifying that. And so obviously the causes can be various, right? But could you give us some examples of some of the causes that could result in these
it's interesting when you look into the cause of the visarpa, it pretty much covers the common things that Ayurveda generally recommends one should not be doing, consuming, indulging for a prolonged period of time, which is something a no-no. Like we call this ahita, kara, ahara, and vihara. That means lifestyle and diet, which you should be occasionally, rarely, and cautiously be doing. So some of the causative factors mentioned, which increases the pitta and vata, particularly pitta. The primary increase happens in the pitta, which is all the pitta increasing food, which are like excessive salt, excessive sour, pungent taste, too much of heat, or a hot food, things that are like very spicy, or being in a very hot environment, doing hot yoga, or exercising in the heat weather, working out in the outside. So this is one of the cause, and also anything which is sour, fermented, regular consumption of yogurt, vinegar, or mixing milk and yogurt together. Creating something, a pakwa. Also, another interesting thing is like a whey. Now we have a big trend of consuming whey protein. So Ayurveda considers like a consumption of whey or for a period of time also increases pitta. And like a lot of alcohol, fermented preparations like a kombucha, sauerkraut, that's eating in a wrong season, and too much of greens. That's interesting too. Eating too many greens without balancing of the grains and other food items. Urad dal or a black gram. Sesame, too much of sesame, all those things, and also wrong combination of food like yogurt and milk together, or cooking the honey, this kind of viruddha ahara, vishama ahara, all those things, and lifestyle like sleeping immediately after eating, or eating food before the previous food is getting digested. Or having a injury, like a sudden injury where your nervous system or body tissue is getting affected, or a trauma, excessive stress, burnout, these kind of symptoms, and also external things like acids and poisons. These things are considered to be the cause for vitiation of pitta primarily, and then vitiated pitta by the trauma or exhaustion or a tiredness where vata get exhausted, and it pushes the pitta along with the aggravated vata into the channels of the blood, creating alkalized acidic blood and then affecting the skin and then manifesting into blister. Basically, this aggravated vidahi, heated quality, like something you can think of like a lava kind of energy that's been created from the lifestyle and diet, basically want to get purified and leave the body through the skin.
Oh, very good. Okay. So essentially, if we're doing these diet and lifestyle, then that affects the rasa, which then goes on to affect the rakta tissue, and then the mamsa tissue, and then the skin.
And it doesn't manifest much disease in the rasa dhatu, because rasa dhatu generally has a kapha quality into it, so it just nullifies, so it doesn't create a exact field for it to manifest into a disease. But when it enters into the blood, it further gets heated up, it becomes much more corrosive. And then the next dhatu is mamsa. Then it just explodes.
That's great. Yeah, that makes total sense. I didn't think of it like that before, because rasa is the first tissue is correlated with kapha, rakta being correlated with pitta. So as you said, it becomes even further aggravated. So therefore, when it gets to mamsa, which is kapha correlated as well, it will really have an aggravating effect.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. And so when the three doshas can be involved, it may not necessarily be all three doshas, but we can see when pitta is involved, it's going to be more burning, more pain, more irritation on the skin, right?
Yes.
And then can you explain a little bit more about when there's a dominance of one of the doshas, what it's like? For example, would kapha have more oozing, more blistering, or more
blistering, and also symptoms like extreme tiredness, lethargy, heaviness in the body, maybe like a vomiting, which is a sign of the kapha. Those things you would have. And with the pitta involvement, there would be like a giddiness or vertigo, extremely thirsty feeling, a strong fever, diarrhea. These things can be happen. Mm-hmm. And when vata involved, you might see lot of pain, radiating pain, tingling sensation. This is also one of the things you can see if it is vata based. When the visarpa or when the shingles heals, a lot of people have like a post shingles discomfort, like they feel like something crawling, tingling sensation, all those things. Then that indicates that there is been involvement of too much of vata.
Okay, that's really good to know as well.
I had the opportunity to experience part of my advanced training on the beautiful mountain in Watsonville, California. And I also experienced part of my training online. Both experiences were equally positive. Mount Madonna teachers and staff are knowledgeable, supportive, and go above and beyond to support you and help you succeed in a career of yoga and Ayurveda.
Mount Madonna Institute offers the following stackable certificates and a degree. The Foundation Mini Courses are online courses introducing you to the fundamentals of Ayurveda. The Ayurvedic Educator consists of 6 months of online coursework that prepares a student for a career in offering diet and lifestyle support to healthy individuals. The Ayurvedic Health Counselor is a NAMA-recognized 12-month educational program for a professional career as an Ayurvedic Health Counselor. The Ayurvedic Practitioner is a NAMA-approved 20-month educational program with additional training in pathology and disease management. The Master of Arts degree in Ayurveda is a graduate-level professional training and is accredited by the Western Association of Schools and Colleges, WASC. And receive a $200 discount on the Foundation's Ayurvedic Educator and Ayurvedic Health Counselor programs starting in September 2023 by using the code ELEMENTS at checkout. To learn more about these programs and to register, visit mountmadonnainstitute.org or just click on the link in the show notes. And so we talked about the samprapti, or the process of disease formation, and thank you for covering that. And so what are the treatments in regards to in Ayurveda? Obviously it will depend on tailored to each individual and the pathway of the disease, but what are some of the general treatment guidelines, and along with the like pathya and apathya, the do's or don'ts for food and lifestyle, please?
Mm-hmm. The main line of treatment Ayurveda recommends is like virechana, because it's affecting pitta predominantly, and pitta is vitiated by vata. The best way to get rid of this excessive pitta, which is moved by vata, is by doing the virechana method. Also, the patya diet is very important in the treatment of visarpa or shingles. Anything that balances the pitta is the way to go. So a lot of simple non-vidahi, means not spicy food, easy digestible food, cooling food. These are the directions that you would go into it. And then making snigdha with the ghee, and then doing the virechana would be the first line of the treatment to reduce the increased pitta in the body. And even if it is vata involvement, and if there is no ama, you won't do the virechana. But if there is an ama involvement along with the vata, most likely there is ama, because the diet itself, if you look into it, which are viruddhas and vidahis, and body can't use it. So, both in the vata case and pitta case, they're doing virechana is very beneficial. Along with the controlling of the diet, whatever that we know that which caused all these diet need to be completely stopped. Fermented food, dairy, spicy food. Also controlling the emotions of anger and irritability. That's also the manasika, or a mind-related causative factor. And in my experience, I have seen shingles just happens where a person has gone through an intense period of stress, anger, and then maybe they just had a fall, or did not sleep well one night, and next day morning they're going to have. So that means the accumulation of pitta takes place, acidity builds up in the body, and then the trigger point is vata. So that something suddenly, like a collapse happens. Maybe they had a fall, or they had a very bad night, or a very anxious evening because of some traumatic experience or something they saw or experienced. So this is how the manifestation of the disease takes place. Lot of things one people can do to create reduce the discomfort. Application of aloe vera. Best thing is to do is application of chandana, or the sandalwood paste, or drinking water made from durva grass, or it's called Bermuda grass, coriander seeds soaked in hot water overnight, and it's called Fanta. You drink that in the morning, so that can help to relieve the heat and burning sensation caused by the pitta in the blood. And just supporting your immune system, making sure that your bowel movements happens regularly, so that in Ayurveda we call, other than virechana, or a person is not fit to do virechana, we call like a nitya virechana. That means you take something which kind of makes your bowels move a bit more than usual, which can be done by at home level. One can take some aloe vera juice, or take some prunes, or avipatikara churna. This is something Ayurveda uses in acidity and to reduce the pitta in the body. These kind of things. Nothing heating. Castor oil is not good because it increases the heat again. So these kind of stuff. Cooling, blood purifying herbs like neem, manjishta, sariva, ushira. Making teas with these kind of herbs would also be very beneficial.
Excellent. Okay. So basically, virechana is the best. So the purgation, and snehana you mentioned there, which is like oiling the body first, so that you can release
you won't
the toxins.
need to do the external oleation because the skin is already irritated. You may need to do it to make a quick utkleshana, like take a ghee maybe with the food for 1 or 2 days.
Right. So internal ghee, but yes, no oil, external oil application on the condition itself, because that will aggravate it. Like you said, aloe vera is best, or the sandalwood paste. Yeah.
You want anything to cooling and drying. Once the drying of the blisters has taken place, then you can apply some oils.
Okay. So, thank you for that. And of course, avoiding the usual, the same culprits that we talk about in Ayurveda, suppressing natural urges, excessive exercise, right? And you talked about alcohol and hot climates as well.
Yes.
Or the heat in the middle of the day, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then topical application. So you talked about the sandalwood paste. So that's literally taking sandalwood and then mixing it up with a little bit of water.
Yeah, water or even rose water if you have. That's
rose water.
very beneficial.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Or you can simply take a fresh cilantro leaves, make it into a paste and apply.
Okay. And you mentioned neem also, neem being it's a cooling bitter and it's good for the skin. Mm-hmm. Would you take a neem juice or neem tea if you had this condition?
Neem leaf or neem powder.
Okay. Okay. So could you put the powder as a paste as well on
Yes, you mix it with the water and you could do same as the sandalwood. Also, if Amrita, which is also it can be bought as a powder. That's also very good. Both Amrita could be taken internally and externally also.
Okay, great. And I think the big one, I mean, we understand, the aggravating factors that we just talked about and how they can aggravate the dosha. But the one, and we highlight this over and over again when we're talking about different diseases in Ayurveda, is stress, because this is something that's part of our world nowadays. And there's only so much we can manage, but this has a huge influence. You touched on it there earlier, but it does have a huge influence on these conditions, right?
Yes. And without talking about herpes, let's just say, the genital herpes, like if you already have a stress about you have a genital herpes and this is something bad, you're outcasted, having that feeling of rejection itself can trigger increase of both pitta and vata. And then you go through the stress, guilt feeling. It's another thing that it's very interesting to see. Having this feeling of guilt always, that's something I've seen, that this kind of infection to come back again, because it's almost like a punishment. Guilt always meant to create punishment. So when you feel that guilty that you got herpes and you're resentful, maybe you got it from someone else, then both together, you just make the herpes to reoccur again. If you constantly feel that, when you're sexually active or you're with a partner or you want to be in love. And so this is something one need to keep in mind, why herpes comes back again and again, the psychological feeling of this. So taking it as any other kind of infection and not tormenting yourself or not feeling resentful, and taking care of your immunity and working with meditation and pranayama to keep your stress levels down and not ending up pushing yourself to burnout and not staying up too late, drinking too many coffees and alcohol. If this, you can moderate all those things. I think, as I said before, herpes virus can stay dead in the body without being active, but we are the one who make it active, either with a psychological factor or a lifestyle and a dietary factor. To keep these viruses inactive, lysine is one of the main ingredient that can help keeping it down. And lima beans has got a lot of lysine in it. So having that in your diet, good amount of vitamin C, and not eating food which is with the high in nature and not stressing your nervous system. I think if one could do these things, I think even if you had the virus infection or you've seen a blister in your thigh or buttocks, it's just a normal. You get a pimple on your face, something similar, I would say. But as long as you don't make it flare up on and on, because that indicates that you're hurting your body, and that might lead into other diseases of like a rheumatoid arthritis or eczema, these kind of things.
Right. I think the point you just brought up there about the psychological factors, and that you're not accepting the condition, or that you still have these adverse feelings around the condition, that in itself can cause it to manifest again and again in reoccurring cycles.
Yeah.
And so a person with a high pitta maybe high pitta, vata constitution can be more susceptible to this. Can people with a high kapha constitution carry the virus, but it may not manifest?
Yes, they can carry the virus, and if they're healthy kapha, they may have a less chance or less prone, because generally healthy kapha have much more stronger immunity compared to other two constitution.
Okay. So a kapha person may have the virus, but it may not be manifesting and they may not know it.
Yes, can happen.
Okay. Well, yeah, I appreciate you talking about that, because it was just recently I was watching some show on Netflix and they were joking about setting up a site where people with herpes can meet each other for dating. And I thought, wow. And that's a Netflix show in this day and age. So it's sad to see that attitude is still out there about it. And this is why it's an important conversation to have, because hearing that someone with this condition could then feel that shame or resentment or anger about the condition and have it reoccurring as a result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think it's a taboo created, and more creating a groups and things like that. It's indicating something wrong happened, and let's empathize those people, or maybe we just connect with those people who are infected with that. But virus can be in anybody's body. It's just may not have manifested.
Right. And so you said that if it is reoccurring at a regular basis, it could move into something, it could spread into the tissues and create something like rheumatoid arthritis. Is that correct? You said that? It
is, yes, because you're not taking care of it, because body is constantly affected by too much of pitta and vata, and you don't. So doshas, which is affecting your rakta and mamsa, then it can move into your asti and your majja, and then into your shukra.
Okay. And shukra being the reproductive tissues. And asti, the bone. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So as you said, if you have conditions like this, it's important to take care of that. And one of the great ways to do that is with Virachana. And then the external applications of the powders or aloe vera or the paste is good, but that's only treating the external symptoms. It really needs an internal protocol needs to be done in order to relieve.
I think if you had the viral infection frequently happen, you should consider doing a virachana, one of the process of the panchakarma.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for all this information. Before we finish up here, is there anything else that you want to talk about with this condition? Anything else that we didn't get to cover?
One thing I would say, if you had shingles, if you are an elderly person, like after the shingles healed, as I said, you may left with some tingling, pain, paresthesia. What can help here is applying some vitamin E oil on it after it healed. Also, it helps with the scars and also the tingling sensation. Vitamin E is very good for healing nerves. Also, applying oats, take some rolled oats, soak it, make it into a paste, apply. It's so soothing. So it can get rid of the tingling and irritation, the post shingles discomfort.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Thank you. I'm so happy we had this conversation. It was requested from one of the listeners, and I think it was a great one to do, to highlight this condition of visarpa and that it's all related to a virus. So thank you very much, Dr. Sujatha. Before we go, can you please tell people how they can find out more about you? I know you have a Panchakarma coming up in Europe.
Yes. If they immediately want to, they can't come to Bali. And if anybody's interested in Panchakarma or do the Virachana process, cleanse yourself from any kind of accumulated dosha imbalance, which is giving you a chronic disease or an acute disease where you can travel. I'll be in Portugal to run this 2 weeks long Panchakarma. You can join at least for a week, 8 days, or you can do the full Panchakarma. Both would be segmented into a 2 slots of Panchakarma from the 22nd of April to 15th of May. I probably send it to Colette, the information. Maybe you can add a link to that or information about that. Or you can see the information in my Facebook page, if anybody's interested. And if you're interested, I offer consultation via Zoom or Skype, and we have a beautiful center in Bali. If you want to come and experience Panchakarma or a little taste of Ayurveda, our website is called www.AmrtaSiddhi.com, and with the same name, we have our Instagram page as well. If you want to keep posted with some of the knowledge on Ayurveda, or sometimes I offer some live cooking class or just a little talk, so you can get more information there.
Wonderful. And I will put those links in the show notes as well. And Dr. Sujatha, thank you as always. If anyone has an opportunity to go to AmrtaSiddhi in Ubud, Bali, I highly recommend it. And now Bali is open for business. We can travel again. And it's great to see that. So if you have the opportunity, it's a wonderful thing to go into that cocoon-like healing scene of Panchakarma. And that's where I had my first Panchakarma with Dr. Sujatha. And I highly recommend it. Dr. Sujatha, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. And I look forward to discussing another disease with you very soon.
Yeah. Thanks, Colette. Thanks for bringing this information to people. Thank you.
It's my absolute pleasure. Until next time, Dr. Sujatha, take good care of yourself.
Thank you.
Mount Madonna is not only a place for me, it is my family.
Thanks again to Mount Madonna Institute for sponsoring this episode today. And to learn more, please visit mountmadonnainstitute.org. And don't forget about the $200 discount I mentioned earlier on the 3 programs starting in September 2023. Check out all the details in the show notes. I hope you enjoyed that episode with Dr. Sujatha, and if you think that this episode will be helpful to family or friends, please share it with them so we can share this wisdom of Ayurveda. If you would like support on your healing journey, please check out my online services. I offer consultations, at-home cleanses, and educational Ayurvedic programs as well. You can find that on elementshealingandwellbeing.com, and I'll also put the link in the show notes. If you haven't already subscribed or followed the podcast, please do so, and the new episodes will download for you. And you can find me on social media under Elements Healing and Wellbeing on Facebook. And I have a new Instagram page because unfortunately I was blocked out of my old one. So the new Instagram is Elements of Ayurveda Podcast. And again, you'll find all those links in the show notes. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take good care of yourself, be well, and bye for now. Slán go fóill.